Hey, good morning everyone, Ben here. So I wanted to make a video about codependency. It's been eating me alive for days and I figured I'd take some time. So when I think of codependency, and most of us probably do, is we think of a person. You got that stage 4 clinger that's banging on the door while you're sitting on the toilet. Just can't be left alone. Nothing against that. That's just something not everybody wants to experience. When I think of what I want to talk about codependency is something much larger than that. And to be honest, if I trigger someone, I'm sorry. I think of the song Goo Goo Dolls. I'm not the one who broke you. I'm not the one to fear. If I'm triggering you into healing. Look at it that way. I'm triggering you into healing. That's the simplest way to go about it. So what I want to talk about on codependency is how much larger it is, and it's not to be looked at just as, dependent on a person. Of course, as a child, we come in, we're dependent on the mother. Some of us haven't had a mother at all. Some of us have, and it tapered off, and some of us had great mothers. The idea is that we are completely helpless. We are dependent on that mother for food, nurturing, to clean ourselves, to care for ourselves, to keep us warm, everything. We're dependent on that. And if we obviously had a bad stretch throughout that, you're constantly seeking validation, love, etc. So that's on the, we're born into it. And if we think beyond that, what else are we dependent on? We're dependent on everything in the idea that it's going to make us happy and to survive. So not just on the person aspect, but on the material aspect as well. Of course, you're going to need food, the basic essentials: food, shelter, and water. We are dependent on that to keep our vessel here functioning. Now, when you think of, in the spiritual sense, well, everybody's seeking external for happiness. That's like the way the world is molded. We see happiness or the ability to find happiness of something external of us. If it's external, we're dependent on it. We're dependent on that for happiness. In a relationship, we're dependent on that person, thinking it's going to bring us joy, happiness, and fulfillment. If we want something like a fancy car or a fancy house, we're dependent on that to make us happy. We're dependent on that special job to generate this money to buy these things external of us to make us happy. All of this is external. So at the whole of it, maybe just about, everyone has to suffer at some point of codependency. But what if the whole fucking game is codependency? The whole thing is codependent on everything external of us. And if you take that away and just look within and just be content with yourself, finding yourself, fulfilling yourself throughout it, you're not dependent on anything at that point. So then you look at then what's the point of being here? Obviously to go through things, to experience things, and to further your expansion on, learning and experiences. Because if you didn't experience it, you wouldn't know it. I mean, you can read a book all day, but if we don't live it, it's just like hands-on job. How's it go? Hands-on training for the job. Like, you can go to college and stuff and get your degree. I never went there, but I feel like people that get those degrees and then they go into the real world, I should say more general degrees, that doesn't really relate to their job. Like, you got to learn the job. Now, of course, medical or math and stuff like that, you use those equations and your background for that job. Regardless, hands-on training. We got to go through shit to know what shit feels like. You got to go through joy to know what joy feels like. You don't know until you experience it. So if you're in the other realm and everything's just perfect, you don't have to want for nothing, what are you going to want to change? So you come here to have shit and a change and to experience this, greed and materialistic world. And then when we're here, we don't want that. All we want is peace and love, and we want to leave. We constantly want what we can't have, you know, because we think it's going to make us happy. I mean, in reality, do you really, if you're truly happy, you probably wouldn't be watching this video, you know? You could, you have, you know, maybe you have a ton of money and you don't have love for yourself, or you don't have anyone to love, or you think everybody just wants your money. Let's look at someone, maybe you're someone that has absolutely nothing, but maybe you love yourself. Maybe you have a great spouse that's supportive, or a partner, or a family that's supportive, but you have no money. You know, we're always chasing something. And I think the whole point of the game is to get away from that dependency on something, to find it within yourself, and then naturally everything that you would want when you don't have it is already there because you're already fulfilled. Like everything flows easy then. So, of course, the codependency on a person, whether it's just for love, what's it called? External validation, support. Like if we can't support ourselves, if we can't validate ourselves, we're looking for that through somebody else, whether in a partner, a spouse, a friend, a coworker, family member. Maybe you're utilizing that person for finances, and not just like gold digger way, but for stability, for a place to live. You're getting in a relationship for a place to live. Maybe just for physical interaction, if you feel the need to express yourself that way. You know, I think of those, I call them polyaneurysms. Whatever that relationship style is, that they're like married or whatever and they live together, but they have all these other partners outside of themselves. Like they're fucking chasing something that they'll never be able to find, because they're so, like, their soul's gone. Like she just packed up and left. They're like, fuck this, like you're giving up on you. And because they're constantly seeking something outside of themselves that they're never gonna find. Like that, you gotta go in. You gotta go inward. But they love the idea of having that person at home all the time that's gonna support them in whatever way that it is, or make them feel safe or comfortable or secure. You know, that's how I see it, and I don't think it's wrong. I think the behavior is crazy, but I don't think what I'm saying is wrong, is what I mean. Let's just go to a job. You know, we can think of childhood wounds, and you're super overachieving and you're just keep going and going and going, and the boss is never going to give you recognition even though you're doing above and beyond. And you're never going to stop to look at your goals. You're just going to keep going and going and going. You could be dependent on that just for some sort of fulfillment, to make yourself feel good enough that you're working hard to receive. You could constantly be chasing jobs for this title. And you get that title, and what's it even matter? Still not fulfilled. Now you just got to work extra hard, and you're probably not getting paid enough. Or we're constantly trying to work up the ladder to make more money to get us to where we're at, thinking that having all that extra money is going to buy us this thing that's going to make us feel better. We're dependent on that. Dependent on that car to have confidence, you know? Dependent on this clothes to have confidence. Dependent on this gym membership to look good to have confidence. You know, let's look at it that way. We're dependent on all these things for confidence. If we need a material to feel confident, a nice house to feel confident on Facebook or whatever, a great smile, a fake picture on social media to feel confident, like that's external. That's codependent. We're codependent on social media to get all these likes to feel good about ourselves. You know, I can't imagine, being a girl and like all these creeps being like, so hot. Oh, you're so beautiful. Maybe some people like that. Maybe other people get weirded out about it. I don't know. I'm not that person. I don't know how that works. What else is there? I mean, we could go on and on. Every aspect of your life. Look at it. Look into it. Uh, everything. 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 Codependent on everything for some sort of validation, for some sort of fulfillment that, let this whole scrolling thing on the social media and it, whatever they call it, dopamine hits. You're dependent on that. Can't be found anywhere else. Sadly, dependent on medicine, which should be out the door. We should be totally healed naturally in other ways, and that is possible, but you can't make money off healed people. Look at every business. They're dependent on you. How are they going to get you in the door? Make things look cool, make things look needed, make things look efficient. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are into marketing. You got to be a fucking liar I shouldn't say a liar, a manipulator to be good at your job. No offense, but am I not right? If I'm marketing, I got to manipulate you into thinking you need this. How could I be good at my job if I can't? The same thing as salesmen, And nothing knocking on anybody's careers, but am I not right? How could I be good at that if I couldn't talk you into something you don't need? How could I sway you? And that goes the same way in a relationship. So, I mean, I know I can't be wrong. It just sounds bad. And I'm sorry for that, but it's the truth. It's just like being in a relationship with a manipulator. They're going to do such a great job in having this huge storyline to get the outcome that they want. That's just how it works. And I'm sorry, but it's the truth. How can that not be true? Anyway, what else let's go deeper. Let me know in the comments, like, what am I missing? This is huge. This blows the cap off everything. It really does. And if somebody else said it, I'm sorry. I mean, I didn't watch the video. It's been eating me alive for a while. And I've been really busy, so I just took the extra time to do this. What else is there? Maybe if I was looking at a screen and just seeing all the junk pop up, I'd have more things to talk on. We'll leave it at that. I don't know. I feel uplifted right now. Sorry, I just noticed the sun's really been in my face. Anyway, you guys have a great day.